They kicked out their mother after she went bankrupt, not knowing that she was hidden millions. Betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it's the people you've sacrificed everything for, the ones you raised, protected, and loved beyond measure, who turn their backs when you need them most. What does it feel like to give your life to your children, only to be left alone when your world collapses? In the heart of Nairobi, a mother's journey from poverty to prosperity and back again would test the limits of love, loyalty, and forgiveness. But beneath her quiet strength, she carried a secret that would change everything. Have you ever wondered how far a parent's love can stretch? Have you seen families torn apart by money, pride, or broken promises? Maybe you know someone who gave up their own dreams so their children could have a better life, only to be forgotten when times got tough. Or perhaps you've felt the sting of being let down by those you trusted most. Let's be honest, in every community there are stories of sacrifice that go unnoticed, and wounds that never fully heal. This is not just a story about riches lost and found. It's about a mother who built her world from nothing, brick by brick, for her children. She worked through exhaustion, hunger, and heartbreak, believing that her love and effort would be enough to hold her family together. But when disaster struck, the very people she had lifted up were the first to walk away. How does a mother survive when her own children close their doors to her? How does she find the strength to start over when everything she built is gone? But what if the one you cast aside is the only one who can save you? What if the person you thought was powerless held the key to your future all along? Stay with me, because this story will challenge everything you think you know about family, loyalty, and the true meaning of wealth. Before we begin, if you're just tuning into this channel, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and tell us where you're watching from. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed a family torn apart by betrayal? Do you believe that forgiveness is possible after such deep wounds? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to turn on notifications for more powerful stories that reveal the heart of real relationships. The sun pressed down on the corrugated iron roofs of Matare, turning the narrow alleys into rivers of heat. In the middle of this bustling maze, Anamutua's kiosk stood as both a lifeline and a prison. She was 32, but the lines on her face told stories of years spent fighting for survival. Her hands, rough from years of labor, moved with practice to speed as she measured out sugar for a customer, her mind already racing ahead to the next task. Anna's life had changed in an instant. One morning, her husband Jomo left for work at a construction site and never returned. A collapsed scaffold, a hurried phone call, and suddenly she was alone with 3 children. Thomas, the eldest at 9, already carrying the weight of responsibility in his eyes. Nora, 5, sharp and observant, and little Rita, barely 2, clinging to her mother's skirt with wide, uncertain eyes. There was no time for grief. Bills arrived with the same regularity as the sunrise. Anna's world shrank to the essentials: food, rent, school fees. She learned to stretch every shilling, to barter, to go without so her children could have enough. Nights were spent hunched over a battered notebook, calculating how to make the next day work. She sold eggs, sugar, and soap from her kiosk, sometimes going hungry herself so her children could eat. Despite exhaustion, Anna never let her children see her despair. She greeted them each evening with a smile, asking about their day, checking their homework, and listening to their dreams. Thomas, always eager to please, would show her his schoolwork, his eyes shining with pride when she praised him. Nora, curious and quick-witted, asked questions about everything, while Rita simply wanted to be held. One evening, Thomas burst into their one-room home, waving a piece of paper. "Mama, I was first in my class," he announced, his voice trembling with excitement. Anna's heart swelled with pride. She knelt beside him, brushing dust from his cheek. "You're making me proud, my son. One day, you'll live in a big house and you'll take care of all of us." Thomas nodded solemnly. "We'll all live there, Mama, I promise. You, me, Nora, and Rita. I'll make sure of it." Anna hugged him tightly, her eyes stinging. She wanted to believe in that promise, to hold on to hope even as reality pressed in. That night, after the children slept, she counted her savings again. It was never enough. School fees loomed, and the thought of her children missing out on education haunted her. Anna's determination became her shield. She rose before dawn, her body aching but her spirit unbroken. She noticed that tourists at the city's craft market paid high prices for handmade goods. An idea took root. If she could organize women in her community to make baskets and jewelry, she could sell their work to the vendors downtown. It started small. Anna gathered 5 women, teaching them to weave and bead in the evenings after their own chores were done. She carried their creations to the market, negotiating fiercely with vendors. The extra income was modest, but it made a difference. She could buy better food, pay a little more towards school fees, and even save a few coins each week. As the years passed, Anna's reputation grew. She was known for her honesty, her fairness, and her refusal to give up. More women joined her group, and soon she was supplying goods to several stalls. Her children noticed the changes too. There was more food on the table, and their clothes, though still second-hand, were clean and mended. But progress was slow. Every step forward seemed to come with a setback. The generator powering her kiosk failed often, spoiling eggs and milk. Thieves broke in one night, stealing her meager stock. Anna wept in private, but in front of her children, she was unbreakable. One rainy evening, as water dripped through the roof, Anna found Thomas sitting at the table, his face lit by the soft glow of the lamp. He was deep in his mathematics book, lips moving as he worked through a problem. She watched him for a moment, pride and worry mingling in her chest. "Mama, will you be okay if I go to boarding school?" he asked quietly, not looking up. Anna swallowed hard. "I'll be fine, Thomas. You must go. You must learn. That's how we change our story." He nodded, but she saw the fear in his eyes. She hugged him, whispering that she would always be there no matter what. Anna's sacrifices were invisible to most, but not to her children. Nora, ever observant, noticed how her mother's shoes wore thin, how she skipped meals, how she never complained. Rita, too young to understand, simply clung to her mother, sensing that love was the only constant in their world. As the years went by, Anna's small business grew. She opened a second kiosk, hired more women, and moved her family to a slightly larger apartment in Eastlands. It wasn't the mansion Thomas dreamed of, but it was a step forward. Through every hardship, Anna held on to her dreams for her children. She wanted them to have choices, to live without fear, to know that their mother had done everything possible for them. Her love was fierce, her resolve unbreakable. The years that followed were marked by transformation. What began as a single kiosk in Matare slowly blossomed into something far greater. Anna's determination, paired with her ability to see opportunity where others saw only struggle, became the engine that drove her family forward. The first real breakthrough came when Thomas, now a teenager, returned home with news that would change their lives. He had been accepted to a prestigious secondary school, his academic excellence earning him a partial scholarship. The family celebrated with a simple meal, laughter echoing through their modest apartment. For Anna, it was a sign that her sacrifices were bearing fruit, but the challenges didn't end. School fees still loomed, and Nora, now approaching her own secondary education, was just as ambitious as her brother. Anna's craft group had grown, but the local market was saturated. She needed a new plan. One evening, as Thomas helped her close the kiosk, he shared an idea he'd learned in his computer class. "Mama, people are selling things online now. If we had a website, we could reach buyers outside Kenya, maybe even in Europe or America." Anna listened carefully. The thought of exporting their crafts seemed impossible, but Thomas's confidence was infectious. Together, they spent evenings researching, learning about e-commerce, and drafting emails to potential buyers. Anna took a bold step, applying for a small business loan to purchase a shipping container of goods for export. The risk paid off. Within a year, Bahari Crafts was born, a registered business supplying handmade baskets, jewelry, and textiles to boutiques in Europe. Orders trickled in at first, But word spread quickly. Anna's insistence on fair pay for her artisans and her commitment to quality set Bahari crafts apart. As the business grew, so did the family's fortunes. They moved from their cramped apartment in Eastlands to a modest house in Buruburu. For the first time, each child had their own bed. The kitchen was filled with the smells of home-cooked meals, and laughter became a regular guest. Nora, inspired by her mother's tenacity, excelled in school and set her sights on law. She wanted to protect people like her mother, those who worked hard but were often taken advantage of. Rita, the youngest, watched quietly, absorbing the lessons of resilience and compassion. With each success, Anna remained grounded. She continued to visit the markets, checking on her artisans, ensuring that every woman was paid fairly and treated with respect. She refused to cut corners, even when competitors offered cheaper, mass-produced goods. Her reputation for honesty and fairness became her greatest asset. But as the family's status rose, subtle changes began to appear. Thomas, now studying business administration at university, became fascinated by the world of finance. He spoke of investments, profit margins, and expansion. Nora, deep into her law studies, started to see the business as a stepping stone to greater influence. She attended networking events, mingling with Nairobi's elite, her confidence growing with each new connection. Anna watched these changes with mixed feelings. She was proud of her children's ambition, but she worried that the values she had worked so hard to instill were being overshadowed by the allure of wealth and status. She reminded them often, success means nothing if you forget where you came from. The turning point came when Bahari Crafts caught the attention of a major American retailer at a trade show in Johannesburg. The buyer, impressed by the authenticity and quality of the products, placed a large order. Suddenly, Bahari Crafts was no longer a small business. It was a rising star in the world of African exports. With this new success came new challenges. The business expanded rapidly, moving into textiles, furniture, and eventually opening a chain of boutiques. Anna hired more artisans, growing her network across Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. She built schools and clinics in the communities where her artisans lived, determined to give back. The family's lifestyle changed as well. They moved into a spacious home in Muthaiga, a neighborhood once out of reach. Thomas left his banking job to become Bahari's chief financial officer. Nora took over legal affairs, ensuring the company was protected as it grew. Only Rita chose a different path, pursuing medicine and working at a public hospital. With each new achievement, celebrations became grander. Birthdays were marked with lavish parties, and holidays meant trips abroad. Thomas drove a luxury car. Nora collected designer jewelry, and their social circles expanded to include politicians, celebrities, and business leaders. But beneath the surface, Anna sensed a shift. The children who once shared her dreams now seemed drawn to a different world, a world where appearances mattered more than principles. She noticed how Thomas spoke more about profits than people, how Nora's conversations revolved around status and influence. Only Rita remained unchanged, her focus on service and humility. Anna tried to bridge the growing gap. She invited her children to community events, encouraged them to remember their roots, and shared stories of their early struggles. Sometimes they listened, sometimes they brushed her off, caught up in their own pursuits. As Bahari Enterprises grew, so did the pressure. Investors demanded higher returns. Competitors copied their designs, and the demands of running a multinational business weighed heavily on Anna's shoulders. She began to think about the future. Who would carry on her legacy? Would her children honor the values that built Bahari, or would they be swept away by the temptations of wealth? Through it all, Anna held fast to her principles. She continued to visit the workshops, to listen to her artisans, to invest in the communities that had supported her from the beginning. She believed that true success was measured not by what you owned, but by the lives you touched. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Do you believe that hard work and integrity are enough to achieve lasting success? If you've ever seen someone rise from humble beginnings, or if you believe in the power of staying true to your values, hit the like button and share this story with someone who needs a reminder that character matters more than wealth. the world shifted with a single headline. News of failing banks and collapsing markets swept across continents, reaching even the heart of Nairobi. For Bahari Enterprises, the change was immediate and merciless. Orders that once arrived with certainty vanished. Containers of craft sat untouched, gathering dust. The phones, once a source of hope, now brought only demands and disappointment. Anna called a family meeting in the boardroom. The room, once filled with laughter and plans, now echoed with tension. Thomas, his face drawn, spoke first. "We have to cut costs. The artisan programs, the community projects, they're draining us." Anna's reply was unwavering. "Those are the soul of Bahari. We don't abandon our people." Nora, always the realist, pressed. "The investors want answers. If we don't act, we risk losing everything." Anna's voice was calm but firm. "I own the majority. We stand by our values. But numbers have no loyalty. Debts mounted, suppliers grew impatient. Customers delayed payments. The family's name, once a badge of honor, became a source of anxiety. At home, the atmosphere thickened. Thomas spent nights on the phone, his voice tense. Nora buried herself in paperwork, searching for a way out. Rita, busy at the hospital, was a rare but welcome presence. Desperation crept in. Thomas pushed to sell the company's hotel properties. "They're bleeding us dry. We need cash." Anna agreed, but the sale brought in far less than they hoped. The gap between what they owed and what they had grew wider. Then came the blow that nearly broke Anna. Bahari's largest European distributor went under, defaulting on payments for 3 major shipments. Almost at the same time, a key American retailer cancelled a contract worth millions. The bank called in the company's main credit line. For the first time in decades, Anna felt a chill of fear, not for herself, but for the hundreds of families who depended on Bahari. The following weeks blurred into a cycle of crisis meetings, urgent calls, and painful decisions. Retail stores closed. Loyal staff were let go. The company's headquarters, once a symbol of pride, was sold. Operations moved to a warehouse on the city's edge. Anna fought to protect the artisans, paying them from her own savings, even as the business shrank. But the current was too strong. Nora, after reviewing the latest numbers, delivered the final blow. "We have to file for bankruptcy protection. There's no other way." Anna's heart ached. "What about our people?" Thomas's answer was blunt. "They'll lose their jobs, but at least this way, we might save something." The bankruptcy process was harsh. Assets were sold off, contracts ended, and the Bahari name, once a symbol of hope, became a cautionary tale. Anna aged years in months. Her hair turned silver, and the stress sent her to the hospital with exhaustion and high blood pressure. It was during her hospital stay that the true depth of her children's betrayal became clear. Thomas and Nora visited, but their words were cold, their eyes averted. "Mama, we need to talk about the house," Thomas began, standing at her bedside. "The creditors," Anna interrupted. "The house is in my name, not the company's." Nora explained. "Your personal guarantee on the loans means the house must be sold." Anna closed her eyes. "Where am I supposed to go?" The silence that followed was more painful than any words. "You both have homes," she said quietly. Nora was quick to respond. "My place is being renovated. It's uninhabitable." Thomas added, "Lisa's family's visiting. All the rooms are full." Anna looked at her children, searching for a trace of the love she had poured into them. "I see." "It's temporary, Mama," Thomas insisted. "Just until we sort this out. Maybe a small apartment." Anna's voice was steady, but her heart was breaking. "I understand. Where is Rita?" Nora's answer was sharp. "Working as usual. She says she'll visit tomorrow." After they left, Anna turned her face to the wall and allowed herself a moment of private grief. Not for the lost wealth, but for the lost values she thought she had instilled in her children. When Anna was discharged, she returned to an empty house. Most of the furniture was tagged for auction. Boxes of personal effects were stacked in the foyer. What Thomas and Nora had decided she could keep from a lifetime of building. The home that once echoed with joy was now silent. Rita arrived that evening, breathless and angry. "What's happening? Why didn't anyone tell me?" Anna explained the situation calmly, watching her youngest daughter's face shift from confusion to outrage. "This is absurd. Where are you supposed to go?" Rita demanded. "Your brother suggested a small apartment." "You'll come stay with me," Rita said immediately. "My place is small, but—" Anna shook her head. "No, I need to stand on my own feet." "But Mama—" "I've been poor before, Rita. I survived then. I'll survive now." The auction was a spectacle. Nairobi's elite, many of whom had once attended Anna's parties, came to pick over the remains of her life. They whispered behind their hands, their curiosity thinly veiled. Thomas and Nora did not attend. Only Rita stood beside her mother, her presence a silent shield. When it was over, Anna left with 2 suitcases and a photo album. The proceeds from the auction barely dented the debts. The bankruptcy administrator informed her that her personal liability would continue for years. Rita tried to help. "My salary?" Anna stopped her. "Is needed for your work with the Children's Hospital. I have a plan, don't worry." Anna found a small room in Eastlands, not far from where they had lived during Thomas's university days. The neighborhood had changed, but the rent was affordable. Word of Anna's fall spread quickly. Former business associates avoided her calls. Friends who had benefited from her generosity were suddenly too busy. Invitations to events and boards dried up. Thomas and Nora visited once, bringing a small television and some groceries. They sat awkwardly on the bed, the only seating in the room, and spoke of trivial things before making excuses to leave. "We'll set up a monthly allowance," Thomas offered at the door, "just until you get back on your feet." Anna nodded but said nothing. After they left, she unpacked the groceries, imported foods she couldn't afford to replace, a reminder of how little her children understood her reality. Only Rita visited regularly, bringing practical items and, more importantly, her presence. She would sit for hours with her mother, sometimes talking, sometimes just being. Anna's new world was a single, dimly lit room in Eastlands. The walls were thin, the mattress lumpy, and the window overlooked a noisy street. Gone were the days of spacious living rooms and garden parties. Now, her neighbours were street vendors, mechanics, and mothers who, like her, counted every coin. The silence in her room was heavy, broken only by the distant sounds of children playing and the occasional shout from the street below. Word of Anna's fall spread quickly. The same people who once called her for advice or invitations now avoided her. Former business partners stopped answering her calls. Friends who had dined at her table were suddenly too busy to meet. Even the women she had helped in the past seemed to keep their distance, unsure of what to say or how to act around someone who had lost everything. Only Rita remained a constant presence. She visited every week, bringing groceries, medicine, and, most importantly, her time. Sometimes they talked for hours. Sometimes they sat in silence, sharing the comfort of each other's company. Rita never judged, never pitied. She simply loved her mother, and that love became Anna's anchor. One evening, as they shared a simple meal, Rita asked, "What will you do now, Mama?" Anna smiled, a spark of her old self returning. "I'll do what I've always done. I'll start again." The next morning, Anna walked through her neighborhood, observing the women selling vegetables, weaving mats, and making jewelry. She saw herself in their faces. The same hunger for dignity, the same hope for something better. She approached a group of women making beaded bracelets and struck up a conversation. They were wary at first, but Anna's warmth and knowledge soon won them over. Anna began helping the women improve their designs, teaching them about color, quality, and pricing. She took their products to the local market on weekends, just as she had done decades before. The first few sales were small, but each one felt like a victory. With every transaction, Anna regained a piece of her confidence. The group grew. Word spread that Anna, once the head of Bahari Enterprises, was helping women in Eastlands earn a living. More women joined, eager to learn and work together. They pooled their resources, rented a small workshop, and began producing goods as a team. Anna registered a new business, Mama's Artisans, with Rita as a silent partner. Life was still hard. Anna lived simply, budgeting every shilling, but she no longer felt powerless. She was building something again, not just for herself, but for the women around her. Each day brought new challenges, but also new reasons to keep going. Rita continued to visit, sometimes bringing her colleagues from the hospital to buy gifts for their families. She watched with pride as her mother's spirit reignited, as Anna found purpose in lifting others up once more. Months passed. Mama's Artisans grew from 5 women to 15, then 20. They rented a larger space, hired a bookkeeper, and began supplying local shops. Anna insisted on fair pay and transparency, determined never to repeat the mistakes of the past. She taught the women not just how to make crafts, but how to run a business, how to negotiate, and how to stand up for themselves. Anna's dignity returned, not through wealth, but through purpose. She found joy in small victories, a new customer, a successful market day, a woman able to pay her child's school fees. She celebrated every milestone, no matter how modest. Rita noticed the change in her mother. "You're different, Mama. Stronger." Anna nodded. "I lost everything, but I found myself again, and I found a new family." The community began to notice too. Local leaders invited Anna to speak at women's groups. Young girls came to her for advice. Even some of her old friends, seeing her resilience, reached out to reconnect. Anna welcomed them, but she no longer depended on their approval. Through it all, Anna never forgot the pain of betrayal, but she refused to let it define her. She chose to focus on what she could build, not what she had lost. Her story became a beacon for others, proof that dignity and hope can survive even the harshest trials. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Do you believe in the power of never giving up, even when life knocks you down? Share your thoughts in the comment. Life settled into a rhythm. Anna worked tirelessly with Mama's Artisans, finding satisfaction in their growing success. Rita continued her work at the hospital, her dedication unwavering. The wounds of the past began to heal, replaced by a quiet sense of purpose. Then, one Tuesday morning, everything changed. A courier arrived at Anna's small apartment with a cream-colored envelope. The return address read, Lieberman and Associates, a Swiss financial management firm. Anna didn't recognize the name. She opened the letter, her hands trembling slightly. The formal language and unfamiliar letterhead made her uneasy. As she read, her eyes widened and her breath caught in her throat. 5 years earlier, at the height of Bahari Enterprises' success, Anna had quietly established an offshore trust. She had transferred substantial personal assets, real estate in Dubai, stocks in various markets, gold holdings, and significant cash reserves into this vehicle. It was a contingency plan, a safety net she never expected to need. The trust had been structured with specific conditions. It would remain sealed and untouchable until either 15 years had passed or Bahari Enterprises ceased to exist. With the company's bankruptcy complete, the second condition had been met. The letter informed Anna that the trust was now active and the funds were available for her use. The final paragraph contained the figure that made her sit down abruptly. 27 million USD. She had forgotten. In the chaos of the collapse, the stress of betrayal, the struggle to survive, she had completely forgotten about the trust. It had been a secret she buried so deep that it vanished from her memory. Anna's hands trembled as she dialed the number provided. A crisp, professional voice answered. After verifying her identity, the Swiss banker confirmed everything. The funds could be transferred to accounts of her choosing. The properties were still held in trust names, but under her control. Everything had been legally separated from Bahari Enterprises years before the company's financial troubles began. "Would you like us to begin the transfer process, Mrs. Mutua?" the banker asked. Anna paused, an idea forming in her mind. "Not yet," she replied. "I need some time." That evening, Anna called Rita and asked her to come over immediately, but to tell no one. Rita arrived, her face etched with concern. "Mama, what's wrong?" Wordlessly, Anna handed her the letter. Rita's eyes widened as she read. $27 million? She gasped. How? When? Anna explained the trust, her voice calm but filled with emotion. I always believed in planning for the worst. Even at our most successful, I remembered what it was like to have nothing. Rita shook her head in disbelief. Does Thomas know? Nora? No one knew except my financial advisor, who died 2 years ago. Anna took back the letter. And now I need your help. Anything, Mama. Anna's voice dropped. I want to test my children, all of them, including you. The plan they devised was simple but effective. Rita would approach her siblings individually, telling them that their mother was ill and needed specialized treatment she couldn't afford. The amount, approximately $50,000, was significant, but well within the means of both Thomas and Nora, given their new positions. It's cruel, Rita worried. It's necessary, Anna countered. Before I make any decisions about this money, I need to know who they truly are. Rita met Thomas first, at his exclusive country club, where a round of golf cost more than Anna's monthly rent. Thomas listened to Rita's story, his brow furrowed. Mama is sick? What's wrong? Rita explained the fabricated diagnosis, a heart condition requiring surgery not covered by Kenya's national health insurance. $50,000? Thomas whistled. That's steep. I can contribute 10 from my savings, Rita said. I thought perhaps you and Nora could manage the rest. Thomas swirled the ice in his drink. Things are tight right now, actually. The new house, Lisa's business. I'm rather extended. She's our mother, Thomas. Yes, and I feel terrible about her situation. Truly, I do. But wouldn't it be better to explore other options? A payment plan? A less expensive procedure? Rita left without an answer, her heart heavy. Nora's response came via text message the next day. Spoke with my financial advisor. Unfortunately, not in a position to help substantially at this time. Perhaps we could start a crowdfunding campaign. Many of Mama's former business associates might contribute. When Rita reported back, Anna received the news with surprising calmness. And what about you? She asked her youngest. If this were real, what would you do? Rita's answer was immediate. I'd give everything I have and work extra shifts to earn more. Anna nodded, her decision made. Then it's time for the next phase. The invitations arrived at Thomas and Nora's homes on the same day. Cream-coloured envelopes delivered by a courier, each containing a handwritten note from their mother. She requested their presence at a family matter of utmost importance at the Hemingway's Hotel in Karen, one of Nairobi's most exclusive establishments. What do you think this is about? Nora asked Thomas over the phone. She can't possibly afford Hemingway's. Perhaps Rita is paying, Thomas suggested. Or maybe Mama has found another wealthy benefactor. She always had a way with people. They agreed to attend, curiosity overcoming their reluctance to face the mother they had abandoned. The private dining room at Hemingway's was set for 4. Anna arrived first, dressed not in the worn clothes Thomas and Nora had last seen her in, but in a tailored suit that, while not ostentatious, spoke of quality and care. Rita arrived next, giving her mother a conspiratorial smile. Then came Nora, elegant in designer wear, followed shortly by Thomas in a bespoke suit that screamed new money. Mama! Nora embraced Anna stiffly. You look well. You've recovered from your illness? Thomas asked, kissing her cheek. Anna's gaze was steady. What illness would that be? The siblings exchanged confused glances as a waiter appeared to pour champagne. Anna raised her glass. To family, she said, and to truth. The meal proceeded with uncomfortable small talk. Thomas spoke of his new position, carefully avoiding any mention of how long it had been since he'd contacted his mother. Nora detailed her latest legal triumph without acknowledging that she hadn't invited Anna to her recent housewarming party. Only Rita remained quiet, watching the performance with sad eyes. After dessert was served, Anna finally addressed the reason for the gathering. I've asked you here because I have news, she began. News that will affect all of us. Thomas and Nora leaned forward, suddenly attentive. 2 weeks ago, I received a letter. Anna removed the envelope from her handbag and placed it on the table. I'd like you both to read it. Nora, the lawyer, took it first. Her eyes widened as she scanned the contents. "This can't be real," she whispered, passing it to Thomas. His reaction was more visible, a sharp intake of breath, followed by a nervous laugh. $27 million? Mama, is this a joke? No joke, Anna replied calmly. 5 years ago, at the height of our success, I quietly established a trust. I transferred personal assets, separate from Bahari Enterprises, into this vehicle. Properties, investments, cash. It was my insurance policy. But why didn't you tell us? Nora demanded. When the company was failing? When we were losing everything? When you put me out on the street, you mean? Anna's voice remained even. When you decided your renovations and house guests were more important than your mother's welfare? Silence fell over the table. I forgot about the trust, Anna continued. Truly I did. The bankruptcy, the stress, it slipped my mind completely until the letter arrived. This is incredible news, Thomas said, recovering his composure. We can start over. Perhaps even revive the Bahari name. I have some ideas already. I haven't finished, Anna interrupted. There's more you need to know. She nodded to Rita, who spoke for the first time that evening. I approached you both last week. I told you Mama needed $50,000 for heart surgery, a life-saving procedure. Comprehension dawned on Thomas and Nora's faces, followed quickly by defensive anger. You lied to us, Nora accused. You tested us, Thomas corrected, looking directly at his mother. Yes, Anna acknowledged. I did. That was unfair, Nora protested. You caught us at a bad time financially. If you'd explained, a bad time? Anna's composure finally cracked. You drive a car worth 15 million shillings. Your watch, she pointed to Nora's wrist, costs more than my annual rent, yet you couldn't find money to save your mother's life? It's not that simple, Thomas began. It is exactly that simple, Anna countered. When I had nothing, when I was widowed with 3 small children, I sold my wedding ring to pay Thomas's school fees. I worked 18-hour days so you could have opportunities. I gave everything. Tears formed in Nora's eyes. Mama, please. And when I lost everything, Anna continued, when I needed you most, what did you give me? A television? Some groceries I couldn't afford to replace? A few months of an allowance before you disappeared from my life? The silence that followed was deafening. So what happens now? Thomas finally asked, his voice subdued. With the money? Anna took a deep breath. I've made my decision. The $27 million will be divided as follows. She removed a document from her handbag and placed it on the table. $15 million will establish the Jomo Keone Mutua Foundation, named for your father. It will provide education and business opportunities for single mothers in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Thomas and Nora exchanged glances. $5 million will go to Rita, who never abandoned me and who has consistently demonstrated the values I tried to instill in all my children. Rita gasped. Mama, no, I don't want... Anna held up her hand. It's decided. The remaining $7 million will be placed in another trust with specific conditions. What conditions? Nora asked cautiously. The money will be divided equally between you and Thomas, Anna explained. But you cannot access it for 5 years. During that time, you must each volunteer 300 hours annually at the foundation. You must live on 75% of your current income, with the difference donated to charities of your choice. And you must spend 1 weekend each month with me. You're punishing us, Thomas said quietly. I'm giving you a chance to remember who you are, Anna corrected, who we were as a family before money changed everything. And if we refuse, Nora challenged, then your portions will go to the foundation, Anna said simply. The choice is yours. The dinner ended shortly thereafter. Rita drove Anna back to her apartment, both women silent until they were inside. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. What would you do in Anna's place? Would you forgive your children, or would you cut them out of your life completely? Share your thoughts in the comments, and share this video with friends who value family and believe in the power of forgiveness. The silence in Anna's small apartment was broken 3 days later when 2 letters arrived. One from Thomas, one from Nora. Both accepted her terms. Both contained apologies that, while stilted, seemed sincere. Anna read them carefully, searching for a sign of genuine remorse. She knew that trust, once broken, was hard to rebuild. But she also knew that her children were capable of change, of growth, of rediscovering the values she had tried to instill in them. It would be a long road back to full reconciliation. Some wounds might never fully heal, but Anna was willing to give them a chance, to offer them a path toward redemption. As the weeks passed, Thomas and Nora began their volunteer work at the Jomo Keone Mutua Foundation. They helped organize programs, mentor young mothers, and raise funds for scholarships. It wasn't easy. They were used to boardrooms and galas, not community centers and soup kitchens, but they persevered, driven by a desire to make amends and to honor their father's memory. Rita, meanwhile, worked closely with Anna to establish the foundation's goals and priorities. They focused on providing education, business training, and healthcare to single mothers in underserved communities. They wanted to empower women to become self-sufficient, to break the cycle of poverty, and to create a better future for their children. One day, Rita approached Anna with a proposal. "Mama, I've been thinking about the $5 million you gave me. I want to use it to build pediatric clinics in the communities where our artisans work." Anna's heart swelled with pride. "That's a wonderful idea, Rita. Your father would be so proud." The clinics became a reality, providing essential healthcare services to children who had never had access to them before. Rita volunteered her time, treating patients, training nurses, and educating families about health and hygiene. She found fulfillment in her work, knowing that she was making a tangible difference in the lives of others. Thomas and Nora, too, found purpose in their volunteer work. They learned to connect with people from all walks of life, to appreciate the value of hard work and dedication, and to understand the importance of giving back. They began to see the world through a different lens, one that was focused on compassion and service rather than wealth and status. As the foundation grew, Anna decided to purchase the old Bahari Enterprises headquarters building. She wanted to reclaim the space, to transform it from a symbol of failure into a beacon of hope. The building was renovated, modernized, and filled with classrooms, workshops, and offices. It became a hub of activity, a place where women could learn, grow, and thrive. One evening, as Anna stood in the empty building, watching architects measure and plan, she felt a sense of peace. The money hidden away had served its purpose, not just as financial security, but as a mirror reflecting the true character of her children. The revelation had been painful, but necessary. Now, healing could begin. She reflected on her journey, from a small kiosk in Mathare to a sprawling mansion in Mataiga and back again. She had experienced both wealth and poverty, success and failure, love and betrayal. She had learned that true wealth wasn't kept in banks, but in the hearts of those you touched. She had also learned the power of forgiveness. It wasn't easy to forgive her children for their abandonment, but she knew that holding on to anger would only poison her own soul. She chose to let go of the past, to embrace the present, and to look forward to the future with hope. Anna's story became a legend, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of love. She inspired countless others to overcome adversity, to pursue their dreams, and to never give up on their families. And as for the $5 million allocated to Rita, Anna wasn't surprised when her youngest returned 2 days later with a proposal. Let's use it to build pediatric clinics in the communities where our artisans work. Some lessons, Anna reflected with pride, had taken root exactly as she'd hoped. As we come to the end of Anna's journey, I want you to reflect on your own family values. What does family mean to you? What sacrifices are you willing to make for those you love? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you've been inspired by Anna's story, Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications for more stories that celebrate the strength of the human spirit and the enduring power of love.